I'm in love with you.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder we are having a look at some of the changelogs and also having a look at some of the news for the day. Today it is the birthday of the United States Navy, and that means that there is a special offer on in War Thunder. Now generally when it comes to these style of events, there is normally a decal or there's a title or there's a something like that, which is pretty cool, but this time it's slightly different. The only thing that is available is the USS Cowell. The USS Cowell, the DD-547, was the, I suppose, the CBT ordered destroyer that you could get, and the fact is it's back again, even though it was taken off sale, probably because better options were found, and now you can get it for GE in the game. Basically what the Cowell is a Farragut which you see in the standard tech tree, but with more AA armament. It is just a better version of the one in the standard tech tree, and this is something I've been railing about quite a long time when it comes to naval, where a lot of the premiums are just better versions of the versions in the tech trees. The Cowell is one of them, even though, you know, it doesn't really stand up to the 4.7 destroyers. As a 4.3 destroyer, it works really well as an individual vehicle. If you want a vehicle which will grind you through rank 1, 2, 3, and 4 at a rate which is good, this is a pretty nice pick, and you can also run it with some great destroyers. The American tech tree, I would say right now, is probably the best in the game. It's either that or the Japanese, or at least when it comes to destroyers. The Japanese have the length advantage when it comes to the torpedoes, but the Americans have the firepower advantage when it comes to their guns. They have insane fire rates and they are able to just put out so much damage over time. It is incredibly impressive, and the Cowell is exactly like that. So if you yourself are interested in ships, especially if you're interested in getting into those higher echelons pretty quickly, the Cowell is actually a pretty good pickup. I would also remind you that the anniversary sale is coming up in War Thunder. For the last 6 years, War Thunder has done an anniversary sale around the 1st of November, and generally what happens is they do bundles, they do 50% off of, you know, select premiums, they do 50% off select premium time, so that might be something to think about when looking to purchase this. There might be better offers in just a few weeks, so make sure to, you know, look at the news and make sure to know what's going on, so you don't make a purchase and then, well, wonder why you can't buy anything the next week. But yeah, the USS Cowell is here. It would have been nice to have a decal. It would have been nice to have something to celebrate the US, some kind of little event, you know, play 5 naval games or win 3 naval battles and be able to get this. But hey ho, it is how it is. It looks like we only get the wonderful Cowell. So next we have a few server updates. The first one was on the 28th, and what this did was have the Churchill 3, Churchill 7, the M4A3E2, the T14 and the T26E1. The number of spawns has been changed, reduced to 1, similar to other heavy tanks. So this is talking about simulator. If you didn't know how simulator worked, basically you have a number of spawns that you can take out specific vehicles. Normally it's heavy tanks get 1, mediums get 2, and so on and so forth. And that generally means that there is this weird balance between the vehicles and also favors, you know, medium tanks as usual. It looks like they're taking a bunch of heavy tanks, apart from the T14, which I think is labeled as a medium tank, and putting them to the 1 spawn. So you'll have much less of an impact on them, because you can die and be out of that and have to go in an aircraft. But I would still say that a lot of these can still have a very large impact, especially at their BR brackets that they are in simulator, especially the Jumbo, the Churchill 7 and the T26. All 3 of these are incredibly good at what they do, so I don't think putting them down to 1 spawn is going to make too much of a difference. You may have to alter the playstyle slightly, but it should be okay. The T26E1 has also been removed from setup 8.5. Whether it was doing too well or whether it was doing too badly. Whatever the case is, it's gone. So therefore, it doesn't affect that setup at all. If you want to see the setups for Simulator, the best place to find them is on the forums, where you can see what fights what. Then we have another update 1.101.0.106, and what this is, as you can see, is a sound update, another one in the game. So the first one is a bug has been fixed that caused an absence of sound events with gunfire on ground and naval vehicles under certain conditions, so basically everything would just go quiet. Then we have a bug has been fixed where sound events for engines on ground vehicles and aircraft were missing. So basically the same idea. The engine sound for incoming allied enemy aircraft has been made clearer. That's actually a big one. So one of the things that a lot of people have talked about is this idea over the last few weeks of revenge bombing, or, getting just clapped out of nowhere when it comes to planes coming in and not knowing they're coming. Well, if you feel like you're going to get revenge bombed, at least you can set up for it. The first thing you can do is understand you just killed someone, so it might be worth glancing at the enemy air spawn to see if anything has been spawned. If you don't see anything, at least, use your ears and you can hear people coming in, and maybe if you have the correct armament, such as a 20 or a 50, you can do some damage to them while you try and maneuver away from it, as you do. Generally, when it comes to the revenge killing stuff, they have made it a lot easier to try and avoid that, so it's good to use the tools that are available to try and do that. So yeah, the fact that they've made them much clearer, it's very easy now to tell where planes are coming from. It's very easy now to tell where where general enemies are, even if it's on the ground or if it's in the air or if it's a helicopter, if it's a ship. The sound compared to a few months ago is so much better. It's really, really good. The sound notification connected to the destruction of enemy vehicles in aircraft SB has been disabled. Oh, so you don't get the little click? That makes sense. I mean, it is Simulator. The sound of scraping on the hulls of ground vehicles in contact with each other has been added. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I haven't really seen that one, mainly because I don't scrape other tanks, I suppose. I mean, I'm gonna have to test that one out to see what it sounds like. Sounds for the scraping of a ship's hull with obstacles and the hulls of other ships, as well as sounds of scraping on an aircraft's fuselage on the ground, will now be more natural in fade out after losing contact with the affected surface or after stopping. Well, that's pretty cool. It is also nice that over the last few months we have really had a lot of work put into the sound system of War Thunder. Right now I think it's in a really nice place. It's really easy to identify where stuff is coming from and where stuff is going, and that's very important, at least for a player like myself. My eyes aren't exactly the best when it comes to actually seeing things in game, so it's nice to have the backup sense of sound to understand where stuff is coming from and going. The next one is the update on the 7th of the 10th, 2020, and this was, of course, the economy update, which they had. And I do have a few words to say. So we went over, when it came to the research purchase and crew training costs and all the other parameters, they've been changed. We went through it, the fact is, when it came to repair costs and multipliers and all the other stuff, the main concerns that people had, which was top tier vehicles and event vehicles, I think were addressed pretty well. A lot of vehicles went down in repair cost in these regards. On average, vehicles did go up, but only by about 300. And generally, I would say these were positive changes because of the fact that the areas which were, in a very bad state, have been adjusted, which, generally is what you want to do when it comes to these economy updates. It's definitely a show that Gaijin was listening to the community community, especially when it came to the F-11 Tiger and the C2A1 Mexus, and also the top-tier machines. It seems like there is much more in the balancing of it due to community feedback. Another thing to also mention is I still think SL modifiers for certain tanks are way too low. One of the things that you could make tank destroyers viable in the game, make them usable, is you could pick the majority of them which don't have a use in the game and give them higher SL modifiers, so you can make them, money grinders instead of anything else. The ammunition costs for naval vessels and aircraft have been changed. Yep, that also happened. And in Tank SB, additional respawns in the same vehicle have been removed due to the respawn system being outdated when multiple vehicle respawns for respawn points was introduced. I mean, that makes sense. They're getting rid of the old and bringing in the new. The reward for destroying and damaging aircraft without suspended weaponry is reduced by 60% in ground AB battles, and for aircraft with suspended weaponry by 20%. So they're trying to address the fact that a ton of AA in ground arcade have ridiculous repair costs. If you had a look at like the Cougar Blitz, the Cowellian, stuff like that, they were like 20k or 30k repair costs. And the reason for this is because what you do with those vehicles is you go find a corner of the map, you go sit in it, and you wait for planes to appear, and then you shoot them. And when you shoot them, even if you only tap them, a lot of aircraft in AB battles will ram the ground. So you'll tap them, and then they'll hit the ground, they'll die, and you'll get the full reward for an aircraft destroyed, even though you didn't really do it. And I've done this in my Cougar Blitz, I've done this in my Whirlwind and my Oswind, basically to get them spaded, to just get them done so they're ready for ground realistic, so I don't have to do it in ground realistic. And yeah, it's a much easier system. You have the marker, you don't have to die. Most of the time in arcade battles it isn't a stomp either way, so there's a constant battle going on all the time, so generally the spawns don't get pushed, so you can just kind of sit around the spawn, survive, and then just use the guns as you go. It's a nice system to be able to gain a bunch of SL and RP, and I think this is why they're reducing it, to try and also reduce the repair costs that are around it. So decals and achievements. For free decals that belong to specific nations, tasks for receiving them have been added. The decals reference did not previously have any special terms for receiving them and therefore couldn't be unlocked or purchased for Golden Eagles. Decals from the directory digits and some decals from the category special will remain free. So what they did, if you guys didn't see, is I think it was from the last update, they just removed a bunch of decals. They removed a ton of inscription decals. They moved a ton of decals which had insignias on them from just a ton of nations. And you might have seen while playing random battles, you have been unlocking stuff where it's like played 10 battles or defeated 30 enemies. And the reason is because they reintroduced them with challenges. Now, the only issue I have with this is if people had unlocked them before, and because they'd unlocked them before, they have to unlock them again. That's a little bit annoying, and especially since one of the Gaijin members, the community staff, decided that a great answer to this was if you read our EULA, it shows that we can do whatever the hell we want. I generally think that is a really, really bad way of dealing with this situation. So yeah, that was a bit rough when it came to this stuff. When it came to decals, I'm glad to see them back, and as long as the people who spent GE on them in the past, if they were available for GE, as long as they got them for free, I don't think it's that much of a big deal. It is the principle of the matter where they are taking away stuff that you had and then bringing it back for challenges and stuff. That doesn't sit well with me. I've got to be honest with you. Imagine if you had a fully spaded Panzer, I don't know, a Panther Ray, and then just one update, it disappeared out of the tree. And then a few weeks later, it came back, and you had to fully research it again. You had to fully modify it again, and that's how this situation would be, but for decals in the game. And I generally don't think that's okay. And I don't think a good excuse for it is the EULA, because that if you read the EULA in War Thunder, it's very much like every other EULA that's out there. It's designed so the company can do whatever they want, and you don't have any ramifications. So yeah, pretty much. They don't have any ramifications for doing what they want. So yeah, I would refrain from using that if I was a community manager, and actually find something which you can use, which would explain the information a little bit better, and the direction they've decided to go in with it. Requirements for the vehicle of a nation for receiving decals from the Allied and Axis section have been corrected. Corrected is an interesting word. Whatever. I'm not going to go into it. I've already said my piece on it. It's literally the same thing. Values to obtain some decals from the category special have been adjusted. Some decals from the category roundels and insignias have had their availability returned. Yeah, but you added them back in, but you also didn't give back the people who already had them back. They now have to grind them out again. The way that this is written. Achievements from the category decals have been distributed in the same groups as decals. The names of the achievements groups and decals now coincide. Well, that's good. I want the major point to be taken away from this is Gaijin can take away anything in the game and then reintroduce it under different conditions whenever they feel like. Understand that this is a part of the game, and I disagree with it. That's really about it. I heavily disagree with that idea. All aircraft torpedoes now have info shown about the explosive type and weight. These parameters are used to calculate the damage that they inflict, similar to other types of aviation armament and naval torpedoes, rather than the previously used simplified damage value. Well, that's good. Basically means that now they should be a little bit more easier to control and a bit more realistic. Overall, a good set of changes, nice to see them, apart from the decal stuff. And also, if you're interested in the Cowell, make sure to pick it up over the next few days. It's available until the 19th of October, so you've got 6 days to make the decision, or just wait for the anniversary sales. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Trigger Hippie, Universe, Conte Baraka, Elove Goat, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Hans, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.